look great.
Thank you.
I think you look great.
We don't know how to do this. It's been like a year.
We are going to have to talk louder,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, we are.
Because the homies playing next door are going to be louder than we are sitting in the living room. So it's going to have to be a little bit louder.
It's been a little over a year since the two of us have done a
I
video
wasn't
together.
bald yet, was I?
Well, look, guys.
Oh my
I'm
gosh, you
bald
weren't
now.
bald. Would this be bald or buzzed? Buzzed.
Technically it's buzzed.
Buzzed is
it's
not
a
the
little
good- not a good
long
word
today.
for
It's
it.
getting out of hand.
A little long.
Yeah, it's a little out of hand. It's unruly.
He shaves his head like twice a week.
Yeah.
And I'm
it's
like,
little-
didn't you just do it? He's like, it's getting long. And I look
it's
at him
crazy.
and it's like
Just
half a millimeter.
cool.
It's getting long.
So anyway, I'm bald now, so that's cool. So
I
it's
like
been
it.
a year.
I like it.
It's been a year,
Yeah,
and we
disappeared for a while.
we did. But some of that is just because of life transition. We went through the greatest and maybe most difficult season of our lives in the last like 6 months.
Yes, the hardest season so far.
So we moved our little family from Knoxville, Tennessee, where we had lived forever, to St. Louis, Missouri, to join the staff at Twin Rivers.
I almost did that too. I don't have it on. I don't even have one yet.
It's a great church. You should get some of their merch. You should do that.
Yeah. Me?
Yeah, you.
Or, okay,
Yeah.
everyone.
Everyone else, but you should probably get some.
I should too, yeah. I do go there.
But maybe we'll do a separate video where we can talk through like hearing the voice of the Lord and what that experience was like.
Yeah.
But
You can sum it up.
Yeah, long story short, in February of 2023, I heard the Lord say, "Take a risk," and
Which
He
is like
confirmed it.
2 weeks after.
Yes, Melody was
Melody
2
was
weeks old, and I kept hearing the Holy Spirit say, "Take a risk," and it was confirmed over about a 3-week period, over and over and over. That same phrase: "Take a risk, take a risk, take a risk."
Yeah.
And while the term was "take a risk," what I knew God meant was we needed to be prepared because we were going to leave Knoxville at some point. So,
Yeah.
man, we spent the greater part of 2023 praying and processing of what that would be like. And now here we are in April, right? April of
Yeah.
2024. And we have officially moved to St. Louis, Missouri.
We made it.
Insert celebration
This is our
noises.
apartment. That is why you hear some other noises, because people are outside.
Mhm.
So bear with us. We're looking for a house. Pray with us
It's
for
a
that.
thing. Anybody else looking for a house right now, you already know.
You already
it's
know.
A thing.
It's
a thing.
It's a thing.
We wanted to do a quick video just to share the life update, but kind of to talk through like what this experience has been like
Mhm.
for us. It's a big deal. Like my parents, almost, my siblings, except for my sister that moved up here with us. Spoiler alert.
She's right behind that wall.
Yeah, my little brother and his wife and their baby boy are in Knoxville, Tennessee. My parents are in Knoxville. All my grandparents, most
Both
of my
your
cousins,
grandparents,
they're all in Knoxville. Livy's parents, her siblings, all in Knoxville.
my aunts and uncles, my cousins, all of them. All of them.
Everybody, literally everybody we
I have
know
one
and
random
love.
cousin in Japan.
But other than him, like everybody we know and love, our friend group. I mean, we were born and raised in Knoxville, so we just completely, God flipped our lives completely upside down.
Yeah.
And it's restarting is literally restarting, like learning what it looks like to not just live in a different place, but to have a different occupational role, to have
Yeah, it's
Livy
totally
kind of
different.
restarted. Like everything is just, it's so different. So we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the great things about the transition and some of the just honest, hard things, you know.
Yeah.
Following God is beautiful, and doing what God would have you do. We truly believe that, He's the best leader and He knows what He's doing, and that He's a good Father that gives good gifts. So when He said, "Hey, it's time for a move," we were like, "Okay, like,
Yeah, let's go.
We genuinely believe what we say we believe, So we have
Yeah.
that faith to just be obedient, to try to figure out what God is doing.
Yeah.
But
We
that
were excited.
Yeah.
I think I was sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but
No, yeah.
I feel like I was excited first. I kind of buried any negative emotions or like you know, everyone was like, oh, that's going to be so hard being away from your family. And I just kind of was like, you're right, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And honestly, we've been here, what, a month and a half, 2 months?
Almost 2 months, yeah.
Almost 2 months. And I am just now processing that we're here and we're not coming back.
What's something that you feel like has been beneficial in the move? Like, what do you think? Like, is there a lesson that you've learned?
Yeah,
is there something that's been fun about it? You know,
so
what's been good?
Everyone told me you're going to grow really close to Caleb in this time. And I thought, that's sweet. You know, they were right. Like, I think him coming home at the end of the day is so fun for me. And it always has been, because I don't get tired of him. I'm an extrovert. So anytime we're hanging out, I miss him the second he leaves. Yeah. But I look forward to our time together. I look forward to our time together in a new way, because it's kind of like you and me against the world. And especially before Rachel moved in, it really was us with a bunch of strangers in a new city. And it was exciting. Yeah. It was exciting. So that's something I've kind of, I guess, would be a positive. Yeah. And just learning how to trust God and seeing him continue to show up. The Bible says he's near to the brokenhearted, and it was kind of heartbreaking to leave family, but more so I just feel like God was close to us because he knew this would be a challenge, and I have felt him in a more real, tangible way. Just, it's hard to explain. Like, in my Bible time, in my prayer time, just with worship playing in the house, it just feels so... He feels closer, you know, because he's aware that we're alone out here. So.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably the biggest, like, the first thing that comes to mind. What's been something awesome about the transition? People really did tell us that. Like, it's weird when you move away from family and it's just you guys, like something happens. And that's 100% we experienced that. I couldn't, like, put my finger on what happened. But there's been a renewed level of appreciation for each other, a renewed desire to be together. Like, we were here for about 6 weeks, and then a family member back in Knoxville had a birthday, and they moved some things around so that Livy and baby Melody could fly home for a week. And that week that they were gone was like an eternity. Now, over the last 4 years of us being married, we've done time apart. I've traveled for youth camps and stuff where Livy hasn't gone. She's done like bachelorette parties for friends and that kind of thing where they've been out of town for a week. Like, we've done those type trips where we've been apart for a week. But this was different. This was like, man, give me my wife back, because there's just a level of like camaraderie, right unity. That just because we did like step out in this journey together at a different level, there's been something so special about it. I definitely think that's been a big pro. Now, I will say, I don't know how to word this, but I think one of the challenges that I didn't really anticipate is you don't realize that your context for life is so built in just what you do every day. And when that changes, it has been really hard just to learn what does it look like to work in the role that I work in now on a Tuesday. Yeah. You know, because I knew that. So for context, we grew up there in Knoxville, and for the 7 years up until we left, I was a associate worship pastor and a young adult pastor at a church. So like our workflow would look like 5 days out of the week, I did a lot of coffee meetings with young adults. We would do a Thursday night church service for college and young adults. So I preached every Thursday, and then there was a lot of preparation going into what the main sanctuary Sunday morning worship experience would be like. So I would sing Thursdays and preach Thursdays and sing on Sundays, and kind of got to have my hands in all these little meetings and all that stuff. And we knew who our friend group was. Yeah. We knew so even during the day, it made sense that on Tuesday, Livy could go to her parents' house for a few hours. Yeah. That on Wednesday, when I had other stuff, Livy could go to a friend's house for a little while. On Thursday, we were all going to be there together. Like, we had our schedule mapped out. Yeah. So then I accept a position as a life groups pastor, at a church 7 hours away from home here in St. Louis.
None of our friends come with us.
No, and figuring out, well, what in the world do I do now on Tuesday?
It's like your whole schedule, your whole
Yes.
life just goes.
And anyone watching this video is going, duh.
Yeah.
I just don't think, like, I knew it would be a different job. I knew that, but I'm still figuring out what it looks like to serve in that particular role just on the normal days out of the week.
Yeah.
Like when it's not a church service, when it's not a whatever, like figuring that out. And then the same thing for Livy. The challenge there has been she knew what family member could watch Baby Melody at what time and how she could jump in and serve in different areas.
Oh, yeah.
And we constantly had young adults in our home, like during the week. These college girls could come to the house and hang out with Livy, and they could talk through life, and she could do kind of like counseling stuff with these girls. Well, now
I had like 15
yeah,
babysitters that I could just call at any moment. Mostly
Yeah.
family, but a couple friends and people in our group that would just watch Melody
Yeah.
for free anytime.
yeah. So now you're like,
So we came here, and especially before Rachel moved in,
oh yeah, that was crazy.
I think it was 2 weeks before she moved in, and I was exhausted. I didn't
Yeah.
realize how helpful it was to have family and friends helping me with Melody.
Yeah.
Like, I raised her, of course, and I am with her more than anybody else, but they helped me a lot more than I realized because I was exhausted and just honestly tired of having to be the one to hold her all the
Yeah.
time. Like, I don't know how people have more than one kid and live far away from their family.
Yeah.
It is challenging.
That's real.
Yeah, that's a challenge I forgot to.
But I will say, like, that kind of leads into what has been unquestionably the hardest part of the transition. When we heard from the Lord in February of last year, we had, honestly, like 10 months, 9 or 10 months, to pray and process and kind of start to prepare family for what could be coming. And then we started interviewing with this church in like October, November. We had interviewed one or two other places and it just didn't land out right. But
Right.
we started interviewing with Twin Rivers in like November and then did our official visit in December and accepted the job going into that first week of January. So it was like 9 or 10 months of praying and processing what this could look like. And I felt like we spent that whole year really just processing how is family going to handle us moving.
Yeah.
Like how we just had our daughter,
we didn't
right?
think about ourselves. We thought about
Yeah, we were
them.
so emotionally disconnected from how this would impact us personally. It was way more like, oh my gosh, I'm going to move away from my parents, and my parents won't get to spend as much time with their granddaughter, or Livy's
yeah.
parents won't get to spend as much time with their granddaughter, especially on that side of the family. Livy's the oldest grandkid in that cousin group,
Yeah.
the first to get married and the first to have a kid, so this was the first grandbaby
the only
for her
grandbaby.
grandparents, the first grandbaby for her parents, and she's got siblings that are in like high school and one that's in college, so it's like we literally, like, we left family and we spent all this time like praying and processing, like, Lord, give grace and give unity, give favor, like speak on our behalf. Like if you're really in this, then don't just tell us these things, like encourage and affirm this word for our family to help them give grace. But I don't think we talked about it, like we didn't process that this would be sad for us to be away from family until we flew out here
Yeah.
to actually do the last interview.
Yes.
We came over during Christmas and got to be here for like the Christmas extravaganza weekend where they did all these extra services, and we were driving around and we had left Melody in Knoxville with my in-laws, with Livy's parents. And like those couple days that we were here were heavy. Were heavy because it was the first time we had to actually process that we would miss family too. That
Yeah.
was a two-way street, that this was going to be hard on all ends. No question, like
Yeah.
leaving family, being away from family, handling the dynamics of that, trying to honor everybody well, like that whole thing has been the hardest process of this. And then just missing family.
Yeah.
Like it's weird.
I think
It's
once
weird
we,
being away from family.
it is weird, and once we got here, people definitely took us in and loved us.
Yeah.
Like they still do, obviously, but we are very blessed. Melody's
Oh,
crying.
I hear Melody crying.
It's okay. We'll keep recording for a
We'll
second.
go get her. We'll go get her.
But yeah. Anyways, it was hard, and I think Rachel's getting here. Thank you, Rachel. I didn't realize, like Caleb said, how much I would miss my family till we got out here. And it's weird. It'll hit me at random times. I'll get a text from someone and then I'll start thinking about how much I love them and I'll just cry. Or Caleb will pray before bed. We pray together and take turns praying over each other, and he'll mention something about family. Or the other night he prayed over me and I just cried and was like, I didn't realize I missed that person so much.
Yeah.
Until you said their name, and I was so upset. Like people that I don't even see every day, but I miss them. And so I think it hits me sporadically, but the hardest part by far for me has been seeing Melody just, like, I don't know. A lot of people raise their kids far from family, so I'm sure it's fine.
It's normal for a lot of people.
But in my head, every time she FaceTimes my grandparents and she, she'll reach for them and she'll just act like she doesn't understand why they can't pick her up, or we'll say bye and she'll kind of cry and she'll say their name. Like, that just tears me up.
Yeah,
it's
that's
really
hard.
Sad.
That's hard to watch, and finding that balance between sending lots of videos, doing lots of FaceTime, but also not like overdoing that and just creating a daily reminder that we don't live there anymore, and everybody just being sad. Like,
it's a hard balance.
And I think all of that just comes down to, like, we're still trying to figure out what normal looks like now.
Yeah.
Like, what does it look like to not live in Knoxville anymore? What does it look like to be away from family and to intentionally schedule those FaceTimes and those times to go visit home and all of those things. I will say maybe one or two like good celebration things though.
Yeah.
I want to end on a good note, right? So
let's end on a good note.
Let's see. I think something that has been really cool is you read the Bible and you see all these places where God,
Sorry.
I'm a preacher.
I'm sorry.
I use my hands.
I'm
just glad I haven't said anything that rhymes and done any cheesy takeaway one-liners.
No, you don't do that. You don't do that anymore.
At you soon. I do feel like you read the Bible and you see these passages where Moses goes and the Israelites get set free and they cross over this crazy water, or the Lord provides for them for 40 years in the desert, and then Joshua leads them again across this other body of water and they start winning these wars in Jericho and all these, you see throughout the Old Testament and New Testament all over the place, you see these times where God called someone to do something that was a step of faith.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had times in our life where we had that, where we felt like we were supposed to sow financially into something or sacrifice some of our time. Anybody that's a parent, you've experienced that when you're a parent sacrificing sleep or making a choice to not eat out so that you can do better things with your money. You do those little sacrificial, stewardship type things, and there are different seasons where God calls you to different things. But there's this level of, I want to be careful how I word this, but healthy pride. Just celebration that, man, we heard the word of the Lord and we did what he said.
You're proud of yourself for that.
I feel like we joined this group of people,
and that was good.
That the Lord called them to do something crazy and they did it. Even now in the early season, I have this sense of oh my gosh, he said to do something and we were obedient. And there's this level of joy that comes with
that.
And
I think that's why I've been feeling just his presence more in a different way. It's almost like a new level of sacrifice, a new level of obedience. Even though it can be tears of sadness sometimes, there's a little tiny sparkle of joy in there because we know he's just I'm right here.
Yeah.
I'm right here. It's weird. It's a hard thing to explain.
Well, that's what gives you confidence and joy in the hard days, is going back and thinking about, but what would the disciples have missed if they hadn't said yes, if they hadn't followed Jesus? What would Caleb and Joshua in the Bible, what would they have missed if they hadn't had faith that they could cross into Canaan and take the promised land? All of these stories of people that really put their money where their mouth is, that they had faith and they said yes, and that was our prayer. From the get-go, when we felt like God said take a risk, we would lay in bed at night and we would say, God, the answer is yes, whatever you're asking. like whatever you're asking, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And then here we are. We ended up in St. Louis.
Yeah, I think it's important to know, not that we're an example here, but just a little lesson for us was we learned not to ask, okay, what are you saying? And then say yes. It's yes. What are you telling us to do? It's always yes first. And
that's good preaching.
We said yes before we knew where we were going. And I don't know what that does to your faith. It's not dependent. It's not dependent on what God says. It's yes. Yeah. Now what?
Yeah.
Yes, and whatever you want us to do, we will do.
Yeah.
So.
And that all comes down to God's faithfulness. Like, we've lived that. We've seen Him be faithful to provide in times when we needed it, to open the right doors at the right time, to close the wrong doors at the wrong time. Yeah. We genuinely trust God's leadership.
Because it's always ended up better than we could have planned for it to on our own. Honestly, if anything, I probably go so far on the side of God telling me what to do over small things because I have gotten so accustomed to Him just making choices for me that I'm like, God, I don't want to pick. Like, you pick my spouse, you pick my house, you pick my whatever. Like, I like to have God's stamp of approval, and not just that, but like His choice. Even when us praying for a house, we're like, God, if we don't get this house, it's fine, because if you have something in mind already that you're preparing for us, we want that. We don't want whatever house we're trying to pursue.
Let me make this point too, for the person that might be watching that's going like, oh, these are those crazy people that they just don't even have any wants, and they just they just pray about it and do whatever God says He's going to do, right? Well, we do have desires and we do have prayers, and we've seen Him come through in ways that we couldn't have imagined. Our reckless trust in whatever. Oh, is that Melody? Come here.
Hi, Melody.
Come here. Are you taking medicine?
Oh, drugs.
But our desire to say yes and to just follow Him wherever He would go, that happened because we've seen how good He's been to us. Yeah. That's not like we just don't have any desires and we just we say yes to everything, even though everything He wants us to do is so sad and so difficult. No, He's a good Father, and He gives really good gifts, including this little precious nugget.
Yes.
So we just trust Him to do that, and we're seeing the blessing of that show up even already now in St. Louis.
Because He's changed our lives.
Yeah,
I mean,
in the best way.
We've been through horrible things, and God has always worked them for the good when we're committed to His purpose, and it's great just knowing that at the end of the day, the burden is not on us, because our God is looking out for us.
Well, there's 1,005 things to say about this transition and about the lessons that we're learning. And like I said, maybe we'll do a video where we can talk through all the little moments where God said this and where He confirmed this and how we really discerned and heard from the Lord in this time frame. But for today, we just want to say, man, we moved to St. Louis, and it's crazy.
Yes.
Well, Melody says it's time for this video to end. So we'll give you more updates soon. That's what's going on for the Ramsey family.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to be more regular now because we don't have as many. I don't have as many responsibilities now. I've graduated. I'm settling in. We're looking forward to recording more fun memories for you guys.
Say bye. Can you
bye.
say bye?